3, 2, 1, mark. Okay.
Now there's a tone now.
It's close enough.
There's always been a tone. There's just two tones.
Yes. Pick it up, Rudy.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, did you not like that? I thought that was pretty good.
I'm not a Scar fan, right?
Yes, you are.
No,
yes,
I'm
you
not.
are.
No,
yes,
no.
yes, you are.
You know what's very weird is my
you are.
1-year-old daughter is a ska fan. She's a cheap ska, and she loves madness, but she loves just, and she's to the point where she's starting to say to herself when it plays, which is amazing.
Very good. Yes, we're raising a good one. I say we like I'm helping to parent Garrett's baby.
Of course, you're helping to parent Lana. She is. You are across the Atlantic, reaching out into my mind and soul and helping me parent.
That's what I'm doing. Yes.
That's sweeter than we usually have on this podcast.
Yeah, usually it's death, and nobody dies this episode. Well, we don't know that yet.
So far,
we don't know that yet.
Mm.
Yeah. So welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I'm November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Yay, Liam. Hi, I'm Liam Anderson. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are. Did I say he and him already? I can't fucking.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And
we
have they're he and him, and we have
not a
fourth
guest,
host.
not a guest, but
Not a
like
guest. Not a guest.
Temporary fourth mic.
Yes.
Until the situation improves, you are gonna have to live with it.
is this so?
This is Network Rails fault.
Yeah, fuck
Yes.
yeah. This is social security because there is no such thing anymore in the UK. My name's Gareth Dennis. I'm a rail engineer, and my pronouns are he and him. Sorry, I thought about the fact that I was like, I mean, pressed myself. I was like, no, I'm not a rail engineer anymore by profession, but not by career. Thanks, Hendy. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that at all.
By
this episode, don't worry.
inclination, yeah.
By personal interest. Yeah, that's it. It's a hobby of mine now.
Worse than unemployed, demoted to podcaster.
But this is the thing, right? If the right get this endless network of like think tanks and consultancies and stuff that mean that no one's ever really completely out of work and you never really see the back of someone, we can implement the same thing. We can do it.
I believe this is what they mean by dual power, right?
Yes. Buy mode.
Yeah.
They have turned me into a buy mode. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I'm no longer.
I'll be right back.
I cannot be
grab my
cancelled.
package.
I cannot be cancelled. That's
It's
definitely true, right?
There's always more podcasts, you know. If we like, God forbid we have to fire you from this one for like, I don't know, you just insult
misconduct?
another station that we're fond of, then it's fine. We just shift you to kill James
Right.
Bond,
It's-
and from
yeah,
then
it's like
to
the-
trash
it's like
you
the
shit, and
Ca-
from
it's
there
like
to
the
no
Catholic
God's
Church. Yeah. We move the disruptive host around, and don't worry about what we're doing on the back end here.
Sure, I love that analogy. Again, day one
I also
of
didn't
working
love it.
here.
I didn't love it either. What do you want me to fucking do, Nova?
Just like here's your introductory package. By the way, do I have a metaphor for you about your job? Oh,
I thought it was quite good,
Jesus.
I
actually.
love you all so much.
Love you too, and this is why we're excited that you're joining us. You know,
I'm so excited.
Um,
It's an honor. It's an honor, and I hope the hogs don't mind. Hi hogs. I love you too.
they'll do us a help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are they gonna do?
Break out of the pen? I don't think so.
I also don't think so.
What are they gonna do? Unsubscribe in an extremely easy process?
Remember, don't hit that subscribe button if you're already subscribed.
Yeah, because then you unsubscribe,
Then
and
you
that's
unsubscribe. That's
bad.
bad.
You can, what you can do? You can hit the dislike button because that still counts as engagement. YouTube
Oh,
counts
there you
those.
go.
Yeah, Joseph
So,
Google will
dislike and subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. Joseph Google will come in and try and take your giant logo back, which would be a disaster.
Yeah. God. Also,
right.
I'm still out of breath because I had to sprint across central Glasgow.
Yeah, you've been putting in some calisthenic efforts, working your way
I've
across
been
Glasgow.
going on a number of dates, and then that has led to me traveling more and also having to do some urban hiking. It's fine. It's worth it. More than worth it, actually. But it does mean that I am slightly fucked for work, which is what this is.
It's fine. I mean, Roz, I assume, has been drinking. I've been drinking. Yeah, I know. I feel great. I did so many errands today.
Nice.
I feel very accomplished.
I
don't know. I'm in a good mood. I'm ready to podcast. At some point, I will need to eat dinner, so I will mute myself when that time comes, or I won't mute myself, and I'll just be a huge asshole. I'm kidding. I will mute myself.
I love it. I love a chores day. My ADHD brain. It's the only day that I get lots of nice dopamine. Put podcasts in my ears. Do chores. Feel happy about life. It's nice.
You guys are doing chores? I'm not getting shit done.
I do. Yeah. So here's the thing, Nova. So my wife, the lovely and talented and beautiful.
Oh yeah, I've spoken to her many times. Big fan.
She's wonderful. She runs this house like the goddamn Navy, and I am an ensign. I am
wildly over budget.
Yeah. Well, buddy. My wife is just like, hey, like, you're off, go do these tasks. And I'm like, but I wanted to sit and relax. She's like, and she says, that's cool, go do your tasks.
Yeah.
Like, I love her
you
so
get
much.
married, and what you do is you install an objective tracker in your life.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I'm just, did you go to the did you get your hair cut? Yes, I did. Did you do this? Yes, I did. I just want to watch, I don't know, not Pat McAfee on ESPN because I can't fucking stand that prick, but someone else on ESPN. All right, should we do a podcast?
We should do
Yeah,
the
sure.
podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I
You know
believe.
what? No, I'm just gonna keep
just
going.
friends chatting away, thinking about chores.
I want you to suffer, Roz.
I don't know. I got to finish the podcast so I can do chores. Well, I probably won't do that.
You podcast so I can go.
Yeah. Okay. What you see on the screen in front of you is an oil refinery with a very large explosion occurring in the middle of it.
Oh, is that what that is?
I've heard
Unrelatedly,
of
the
those,
lights
like-
in my house are flickering.
Yeah. I've
I'm
heard
not
of-
joking, they are. So if I go down, just go without me,
okay.
baby.
Mine were
Okay.
flickering earlier as well.
Oh, so spread it.
Oh,
Okay,
golly.
well, don't die. I've heard of like natural gas flaring, but I think this may be taking it a step too far.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was thinking, I was convinced this was just RGB. But now you say it's explosions and fire, then okay, this puts a whole different slant on the situation.
God, you know what we should do? We should do the Buntsfield oil depot fire.
Ooh.
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list after the podcast. Anyway, this oil refinery is not supposed to look like this.
Oh,
It's using a lot of oil, is the
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Which you want to be like, that's an
Well-
output.
right.
Well, actually, this was mostly propane and a few
Oh.
other various
Nice, clean, odorless flame.
low weight petroleum byproducts. We'll get to that in a second.
You could grill over this thing with a big enough grill.
You're actually not too far from the link. You could if you just stream tailgating.
That's a good point. Today we're going to talk about the 2019 Philadelphia Energy Solutions oil refinery explosion,
Well, that is an energy solution.
which is a disaster that was very close to home.
I have to make a self-disclosure here.
Are you going to dox yourself?
No, but I will say that at one point my father-in-law did work for Philadelphia Energy Solutions, or Sunoco, or whoever the fuck.
Probably.
Was this while he was like an open Maoist?
That's my father. My father-in-law is far less
Oh,
cool.
your father-in-law.
Sorry, Sean.
Okay, I missed that
sorry,
part. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sean. You're all right, I guess. No one in this family is going to listen to it except Zach, and Zach likes me, so it's fine.
Hi, Zach.
This event was also known in the Twitterverse at the time as John Oble, because
Are we going to have to explain John to these people?
we are going to have to explain John. John
What the fuck is a John?
John is a thing.
A catch-all noun
Yeah,
for
that's
anything,
everything.
person, place.
A metasyntactic variable.
Yes.
Like a doohickey, a whatchamacallit, a thingamajig.
I
Yes,
thought it was just when a
yes.
German gets tired, but
And then since the television show Chernobyl was popular at the time, of course this became John Oble.
Wasn't a bad show, really. Like, I have some
I
notes
liked
on
I
it.
enjoyed it.
I liked it.
It was a little bit like, oh, why don't we listen to the fucking scientists instead of the guys who, ran a shoe factory? But, whatever.
Yeah. So I just want to say I drew a lot from the Chemical Safety Board for this video, but also the Union of Concerned Scientists report, Unrefined Ending, Lessons Learned from the Creation and Closure of the Philadelphia Energy Solutions Refinery.
Yeah, it's a lot more heavy going than the Union of Unconcerned Scientists report, which was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
Union of Chilled Scientists.
Yeah. I did not, unfortunately, get a chance to read Beyond Bankruptcy, The Outlook of Philadelphia's Neighborhood Refinery by Christina Simeone. I just didn't have that much time. But apparently that was very prescient as to the events that unfolded. Anyway, so before we talk about this, we have to talk about the goddamn news.
Nuclear power is back.
Yeah, they're restarting 3 Mile Island Unit 1.
It's that great taste that you love.
Oh, yeah. For
Metal.
a Microsoft data AI center thing.
That's the worst fucking reason to do something that's a good idea I've ever fucking heard in my life.
I would no longer critical support. I withdraw my support for this. I'm unhappy about this. This is extremely not good news.
I'm unhappy about this. It applies to a lot of stuff in Pennsylvania. I can tell you that right fucking now.
So I guess the idea is that Microsoft agreed to buy energy for 20 years in order to get a Unit 1 reactivated. Unit 1's the one that didn't melt down, if I recall correctly.
I know guys are working on this, actually.
Yeah. So,
and this is all just going into a data center, right?
Like, pretty much, or like several data centers.
Yeah, buddy. For AI,
that's a big bet for Microsoft to make, to be like, we are gonna need like a large amount of energy.
Like a TMI level, right?
Yeah. So many entries in LinkedIn profiles are now going to be automated. Sensational. I'm so pleased about that.
And we're gonna ruin GitHub even more. You'll get nothing like it.
It's literally, it feels like what they're doing is that they're turning on the reactor and they're turning on the turbines and they're taking that electricity and converting it directly into entropy.
Thomas, R.I.P. Thomas Pynchon, you would have loved this news story. Also, I think Thomas Pynchon's still alive.
You can still give him an RIP, that's fine.
Yeah, prospective RIP to Thomas Pynchon. You're one of my favorite authors.
Have a
Please
nice
don't die.
night's sleep.
Thomas Ruggles Pynchon Jr. is. Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. It's pretty wild that we do this all for just to run entropy machines. That's like what crypto is. That's what the metaverse was going to be. AI definitely just an entropy
metaverse,
machine.
Dude? Yeah, all of this was going to be there to power your like robot legs in the metaverse.
Web3, man. Oh, what a time.
NFTs.
I don't want to get all like a different podcast about this, but this is essentially just virtue signaling for Microsoft, right? This is Microsoft going, no, AI definitely is a thing. Look, we're doing something real about this AI. We're confident that AI is real. But this is basically just virtue signaling to their increasingly unhappy investors, right? This isn't actually material.
If you look at what Elon Musk is doing to power,
I would prefer not to.
Yeah, to power Grok, the answer is a fleet of mobile like I think methane generators.
Yeah, they're natural gas generators.
Yeah, that are mobile precisely because if they stop being mobile, he has to get a permit for them. So they're just driving
just
around
a bunch
every
of
so
guys
often.
just running around with like a trailer with a little methane generator on the back.
Yeah, you just have to move them around to prevent sort of like regulation, like like a Scud missile.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is one of the better ways to waste energy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not producing a whole shitload of CO2, and also the reactor's already there, which is the only reason they're restarting it is because the thing is completely intact.
You're going to produce spent fuel, but like it's not a huge amount. I mean, it's. I guess the only thing more efficient than this would be like hooking it up to like renewables like solar or wind that are already built and doing nothing and being like, yeah, these are going to, be wasted now.
I think it'd be better if this, let's say, powered instead of an AI data center you can't do math. And, what else does AI do? It tells you to put glue on pizza.
Yeah,
it generates pictures of shrimp Jesus.
Shrimp Jesus
writes a lot of college essays that have every academic I know tearing their hair out.
Yeah. Ruin just destroys the internet and our ability to use internet searches. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that Google is just
completely fucked.
Yeah, it's so cool that like that happens to you, like whether you like it or not. You're just like, I want to Google something. Perfectly ordinary act we've all been trained to do a bunch of times a day. And you're like, oh, by the way, you've just wasted like 5 gallons of water doing this.
And it's you might as well start almond farming.
Why even bother fucking recycling or like, you know, like limiting your household use of water when like one company gets to decide, hey, we're just gonna use like more of it than you anytime you do anything requiring our service.
Makes me so angry that I cannot switch it off. It is genuinely like it's increasing everyone's carbon footprint and everyone's environmental footprint. It's just we're getting sidetracked here. It makes me so unbelievably angry, and I desperetely hunting for ways to make
on
Google.
This podcast.
Well, yeah, that's true. I know. Hello, that's how this all works. What would be great is if they just restarted this because it's clean energy and it would drive electricity prices down. That would have felt like a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. You could power the whole city of Harrisburg with it.
Which is, you know, arguably worth more than anything done with AI.
I think so. There's some nice stuff.
It gave the world fucking Charles Bronson from Harrisburg.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
And Gareth and I waited at a bus station there once.
We did. And got very angry at Steve Greyhound. Yeah.
Yes.
Harrisburg is I don't know. I like the Senators. That's all I can say about Harrisburg. I try not to go
very
there.
Nice historic center.
I'm from the shittier part of central Pennsylvania.
I'm looking at this now. It's in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania.
Dauphin Cat.
Okay. I'm not even going to get into this.
Yeesh.
Well, so good thing happening for extremely bad reasons. Almost to the point where it might be a bad thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like tipped the scale over at this point, you know. Yeah. They're not going to use it for anything else.
Exactly. I mean, well, hopefully, you know, maybe Microsoft implodes and then they got another 20-year license on the reactor.
They give it to us. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more likely that AI implodes and then Microsoft has a bunch of energy it doesn't know what to do with, and it has to invent some contrived bullshit, even more contrived than AI.
Can you imagine?
We're actually buying energy for.
Step away from the wave, Nova, please.
A reverse nuclear reactor.
We're gonna spin a turbine really fast.
Oh boy.
Well, in other news,
you know this one was going to be.
Yeah, now Israel's attacking Lebanon now. More than just blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies. Now they're just blowing up people's apartments
indiscriminately. Yes.
Oh yeah. A huge wave of airstrikes, which are almost certainly going to lead to a ground invasion and probable like occupation of southern Lebanon, which history fans may remember is a bad idea for everyone involved.
Haven't we already done this?
Yeah, literally. And there's a bunch of like weepy Israeli movies about it, in fact. But yeah, all of the like generals in the IDF now were like junior officers the last time they did this. And like came up in this kind of like occupation of southern Lebanon. So Christ, I don't know. Basically, like the whole thing is completely fucked because it's this full court press that like we are gonna get our like, you know, our big regional war now while the going's good because we know the Americans won't do anything to stop us. So
correct.
We're just gonna like do whatever we want to Gaza, like ostensibly now short of bulldozing it into the ocean, but who knows?
They're doing a bit of that.
Give it time. Give it time.
Exactly. And then we're also gonna like invade Lebanon and push Hezbollah back past the Litani, which best of luck. I mean, they'll be able to do it, I think, but like not without a huge amount of bloodshed on like for everyone involved, and also like this kind of suppurating wound of occupation, which is exactly what happened the last time.
The cat is out of the bag, right? Like, so they've Israel, or rather the leadership of Israel, Netanyahu and his weird right-wing nutters that he's surrounded by, don't care about the fact they are actually destroying Israel. Like they're like Israel is a going concern, continues to be less and less likely to exist as they push this forward, because the ultimate consequences of this are unfathomable across the board for the region. But they can do that, but they don't care. The little cabal who are currently running Israel do not care, because they know that they can do all of this. And as you've said already, the US will do nothing to stop them, and they've seen that now. They cannot believe what they've been able to do in Gaza without anyone stopping them, and now they're like, well, okay, cool. Let's just work our way down our list. Lebanon's next. Frightening.
And I think there's a few things going on there in terms of, like, I've said this before elsewhere, that it's partially the knowledge that, like, the US is going to, like, continue supplying weapons, continue supplying aid, and not have any enforceable red lines. But it's also like, this might be our last chance to do this before Iran has nuclear weapons and can kind of credibly threaten us with them. And we can do this without it turning into a nuclear exchange. It will, I suspect, turn into a like sort of regional war, no matter what Biden says otherwise about it. And I just...
Biden's probably saying,
yeah, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He doesn't know what room toilets are.
Yeah. What Biden is saying, what Biden's people are saying, saying is that he is pushing the Israelis to, like, come to a peace settlement, which they will not do.
They're not going to do it. Yank the fucking aid, dude. God damn.
Yeah. And as far as, like,
say, all right, good going, fuck ass. You're on your own. Good luck. Fucking don't shit where you eat. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. And as far as, like, destroying Israel goes, the Israeli economy,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it like Israel is a going concern? It seems to be kind of attempting to wind itself up. Yeah, not all Israelis, but certainly the head of government just seems to not care about the long-term viability of the Israeli state, independent of what actually is happening on the ground. They just don't seem to care.
Yeah. Well, it's this weird combination, as with Trump in a lot of ways, right? Of a guy, or, you know, a bunch of other people. Berlusconi comes to mind. Like, your central guy, Netanyahu, is, like, absolutely cynical about this. And wants to stay out of prison, right? Because, like, the second the war ends, he will be out of power, and then, like, all of the corruption investigations will land on him at once. But then you also have his various, like, also cynical, but cynical in a different way, like headbangers like Ben Gvir or whoever.
That fucking psychopath. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
I know. I wish him more car crashes. But yeah, who sort of like,
hopefully fatal ones. Don't bleep that. Leave it in.
Yeah, who are fully on this, like, Kahanist program of, like, Israel is sort of, like, ethnically and religiously like strong, will continue to be strong if it, like, purges its enemies, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, fucking hell is my answer to this.
Not good.
No.
Looks like they already got, like, men, sort of suited up and ready to go into Lebanon. That's going to be pretty bad. Pretty bad for all.
It's already pretty bad, and it's going to get a lot worse. Yeah.
Meanwhile, worth just putting a pin in the sand. Absolute human misery and suffering just continuing to widen. I know all of us know and care about that, but it's worth just reminding ourselves that the untold human suffering and misery, while these pricks machinate, like, just absolute untold human misery and carnage, just continuing to broaden and broaden across the region. Absolutely horrifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Netanyahu went on TV in English, which shows you what the audience is for it, saying that the war isn't with Lebanon, it's with Hezbollah, and it's like, I think
funny way of showing it, dick shit.
Well, the war isn't against the Palestinians; it's against Hamas. I mean, that hasn't
exactly.
That shouldn't inspire any confidence in anyone.
It's like, even if this were about Hezbollah's ideology, which it isn't really, like, national sovereignty is still a thing, right? Lebanon's still a country, and apart from anything else, I think there's this idea, right, that if you go, like, well, you know, we're only targeting this movement within your country rather than the country as a whole, that's gonna, like, sort of wave the magic wand over it in terms of international law. I don't know why they bother. I really don't, given that the arrest warrants are, like, imminent. But yeah,
fun.
it's part of the problem historically, right, is that for every, like, sometimes assassination really works and does just destroy a dude's entire legacy, right? And on the one hand, you get Shinzo Abe like that. On the other hand, you also get Yitzhak Rabin like that. And yeah.
Well,
what did we learn?
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. And it's going to get worse all the time. Like, who knows where this leads?
There doesn't seem like there's an end like there is no rational end state at this point. It's just what can we get away with next? Escalate. There's no it's frightening.
Well, speaking of untold human misery and carnage that there's no logical endpoint to, that was the goddamn news.
And this is sake.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Edwin Drake struck oil in 1859 in northwest Pennsylvania.
It's like seeing an old friend.
It's the all. Yeah.
This has widely been regarded as a bad move.
Have you done this joke with this slide every time as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not getting like copy burn. You know, they get the copier burn as it kind of gets copied through each time, right? Beautiful.
Okay, let's talk about petroleum.
No.
It's this great material. It has very high energy density.
Say vegan.
Yeah, thousands of uses. It's easy to process.
It's an animal-based product, kind of.
No, it's all natural and largely plant-based. It's vegan. It comes from the ground for free, right? I don't know why everyone's so mad about this stuff.
And the thing is, it's great for, like, obviously what we use it for as a fuel, but it's also great as a, like, sequester of carbon.
Yes,
carbon is sequestered the absolute fuck into this thing.
Oh yeah, because it's all made of carbon.
This is like one of the best, like, dead tree carbon storage, like, mechanisms ever devised.
Yeah, people are wondering how much, like, you carbon sequester by doing the weird charring of a log and then putting some mud on top of it. Well, imagine that, but several million years ago and squished real small. You cannot exactly, November. It's the great carbon sink. So the best thing to do with it is, of course, to burn it. ?
Yeah, burn all of it as quickly as possible. And after 1859, we really got on that. So here's an early oil refinery. Our oil refining industry first sets up shop in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of small refiners. Then this guy, John D. Rockefeller, comes around. He has an oil refinery. I think the first one was in Pittsburgh, but he moves over to Cleveland because he got access to the Great Lakes there.
Sick of their basement toilet shit. He's just fuck this.
This is true, yeah.
I'm going to go to the city by the land.
I bet all of the soil that you can see there under all that stuff is today completely clean and fine.
Hyper-irradiated.
Yeah.
John D. Rockefeller builds up his Standard Oil monopoly in Cleveland. He's able to manipulate the oil market. He has a lot of sweet deals with the railroads, all this kind of stuff. Eventually, people get so mad at him that Congress passes the Sherman Antitrust Act, and then about 20 years later, they use it. Standard Oil is broken up into several constituent companies. Now, this eventually effectively reforms as ExxonMobil, but we don't talk about that.
No, of course not. You can't use an antitrust act today, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to break up Amazon. Okay.
When we talk about the facility we're going to talk about, there's two major players here in the history, Atlantic Petroleum and Gulf Oil. So
I've heard of Gulf Oil. Gulf Oil is the one with the cool logo, and they sponsored a bunch of motorsport stuff, the like orange and blue one. Yeah.
Yeah. The GT40 livery, yes.
Oh, sick.
So Atlantic was actually a pre-Standard Oil company. It was founded as the Atlantic Petroleum Storage Company in 1886 in Philadelphia, but later it fell under control of the Standard Oil Trust, right? The Atlantic brand continued to be used for kerosene in southeast Pennsylvania, and when Standard Oil was broken up in 1911, the company was born anew, right? Atlantic was back.
There's got the names out of storage of all the shit it had absorbed.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, you're these again.
People love nostalgia.
Atlantic held the rights to be Standard Oil of Pennsylvania, but they decided they liked their brand better. So, Atlantic service stations pop up all over southeast Pennsylvania as the automobile takes hold of transportation. Retail fuel sales far outstrip retail kerosene sales, right? The refineries are getting bigger. They're being reconfigured for this fabulous new chemical called gasoline. It's not just for dry cleaning anymore.
You're not rolling up to this in your kind of like very strangely designed 6-wheeled car being like filled up with kerosene.
Yeah. The company prospers, through both wars. In 1966, it merges with Richfield Oil in California. That creates Atlantic Richfield, or ARCO. ARCO is very successful. It then buys and eats up Sinclair Oil and its famous dinosaur logo. Then it becomes a national chain. For antitrust reasons, its northeastern assets were sold off. Those were rebranded back to Atlantic.
The brand cannot die. Oh my God.
It just like it's like an overflow, you know.
That part of the company struggled for a while, and Atlantic was sold off to Sunoco in 1988.
Yep.
Our other contestant here is Gulf Oil, right?
No GT40 on this slide. Why even fucking bother?
Good question, Nova.
Gulf Oil was founded to exploit oil in Texas and was thus headquartered in Pittsburgh.
All right. It
was largely financed by the Mellon family, better known for their banks.
The Mellon family.
These motherfuckers. The Mellon family is a bunch of far-right neocon and paleocon freak shows. I believe his name is Richard Mellon, who is one of the largest single donors to Donald Trump.
If anybody killed JFK.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not him specifically, but like these are like
Scafey,
yeah. These are the fucking guys, right?
Yeah.
Also founded Carnegie Mellon, along with Carnegie's,
and also Mellon Bank. Yep, that's all.
And
them.
the Big Fruit as well, of course.
Yeah. He is he's dead now, but I'm gonna dig him up and piss on his grave. He died a day after his 82nd birthday. So I hope his last 24 hours were not a happy celebration, but instead miserable writhing and twitching right before he saw the good Lord and was sent straight to hell. Fucking asshole.
So.
Yeah, buddy, I'm here.
I'm just looking at a list of melons, and on this list of melons is Cordelia Scaife May with an incredible one-line biography, famous recluse and funder of multiple anti-immigration organizations.
Also birth control and family planning, so who's to say?
I feel like if you're a famous recluse, you're not being a recluse right.
Again, Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah, she hanged herself. Remember, it's hanged for people, and she said that America was being invaded on all fronts by immigrants who breed like hamsters. So long, you dead bitch, you deserved it.
Jesus Christ! I mean,
so some of the worst people.
Gulf Oil invested heavily in pipelines, allowing them to extract petroleum from as far afield as Oklahoma and ship it very cheaply and very quickly to its Port Arthur, Texas refinery. Port Arthur is right near the Louisiana border on the Gulf Coast.
I was just thinking this is like Manchuria, right? Or like the Russian Far East.
Different. They couldn't build a pipeline that far. Gulf was known for consistency and quality, and its distinctive these nice small neoclassical service stations.
I mean, if we're gonna like set the world on fire, nice building to do it from.
Yeah, it's a nice little one. This one just got moved to somewhere in Fairmount Park, I think, in order to make way for a big condo tower.
I gotta stick my flag in the sand and say I don't like that. I don't know. I find it icky. Look at our Twee service station. Burn the planet.
A little kitsch.
It is quite kitsch.
It's a little kitsch. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they knew they were burning. Well, they did know they were burning the planet, but they thought it was a much slower time process.
Yeah, this is still the days when we thought smoking cigarettes was good for you. So
this is true.
But all they knew since the 50s that cigarettes are bad for you. Shut up, I know.
Gulf Oil leads in technology. It was the first to install a catalytic cracker. in 1951. We'll talk about that in the next slide.
It's called a catalytic white person, Roz.
You beat me to
Demonetized.
Great. Fantastic. They also lead on influence. They have significant political contributions that lead to significant influence in Colombia, Venezuela, Kuwait. Excuse me. Why did I say Kuwait? Kuwait. Sounds like a little bird.
Oh.
And even, horror of horrors, Canada.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
Gulf Oil eventually winds up with a massive portfolio of oil and energy-related businesses, from nuclear power to like basic research to private militias to protect wells in Angola.
Yeah. This is a really evil corporation. I mean, not that there's a good one kicking around, but like.
Yeah.
No, it's like stinky evil.
Yeah, no. Private militias. That's always a term, a noun that always fills me with confidence that a company is good.
Yeah, it's right. Coca-Cola Death Squads. Yeah.
This is so infuriating. Alexa, play Jungle Work.
All of this stuff is expensive. As a result, Gulf Oil's portfolio underperforms significantly, and it falls victim to corporate raiders in the 1980s who break up the business, and the refining side is sold to Chevron.
That whole corporate raiding thing was really funny in the sense that like you just had these like bloated, extremely vulnerable, extremely evil corporations that are like, yeah, we make paperclips with a paperclip making company. We have done 50 coups to prevent anyone from developing an alternative to paperclips. We have like a ton of bodies on us. And then just getting like effortlessly defeated in like boardroom judo by like one guy who has like read the SEC rule.
Yeah, weird critical support, strange critical support to the corporate raiders, to the sort of
like
Hawks.
Carl Icahn and like Warren Buffett. I mean,
exactly. The only company that survived that was like 3M.
Yeah.
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
Barbarians
you just like tape the doors shut, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I can't get in. They put a Post-it over it.
Super glue everything. You come and take it. It's just 2 cross bottles of super glue.
Kind of had 3M in mind when I was thinking about the like, assassination attempts to prevent someone developing an alternative to the Post-it.
They made we can't let them develop a better paperclip. All right. So those are our 2 corporate players here in the early days of this refinery. But now we have to talk about the refinery and the process, which means it's time for some diagrams.
Learning.
That's a Department of Defense looking.
Jesus, did Francis make this?
Oh golly.
Okay, how do you refine oil? What does that even mean?
You do all of this shit to it.
Yeah, you do all of this shit to it,
You put your hands down to the bottom and you get the chunky stuff. And if you just scoop your hands in the top, you get all the little light stuff.
Through a sieve. Yeah.
Yes.
You do a bunch of really interesting chemistry with it, involving like fractional distillation or whatever the fuck.
Yes.
I don't like the black jar one in the middle here. That's I don't like that. That's not very nice.
You take a jar of crude oil and you do what you do to make whiskey to it, kind of, for a bit. And then you do a bunch of other shit.
Sort of.
But with less fire than with whiskey, yes.
Yeah.
Cowards. No, well, as we're going to learn, sometimes more fire.
Yeah. Broadly speaking, refining oil, you take crude oil and you make it into more useful oils. Crude oil is made by natural processes and is therefore full of stuff you don't want.
Yeah, it's just sequestering whatever,
Yeah.
Like,
it also varies a lot in molecular composition, but we want oil products with consistent properties, right? This is all about the molecules. Hydrocarbons. They're just molecules made primarily of hydrogens and carbons. This guy here is an octane.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And like the properties of these hydrocarbons vary based on length. You can select for these.
Oh yeah. This is not the good octane. The good octane is isooctane, which is pictured in a later slide. Ooh. This is the bad octane, which actually does not increase the octane rating of your fuel.
Yeah, so these things, so this like big long molecule thing, because it's big and long, well, this one's kind of big and long, you get lots of intermolecular forces, which makes it stickier and changes its performance, its behaviors. and how it like how quickly it burns and stuff. Whereas the smaller ones, like methane, which is just one, has less intermolecular forces because the molecules are smaller, and so that's why it's a gas versus being a liquid or whatever. And it has different sorts of properties. So that's kind of why these the forces. The longer your molecules stick, the more it sticks to other molecules near it. It's kind of like I don't know, like stickle bricks.
Yes. And that's why you have a.
I don't. There's a deep cut for the '90s kids like me and Nova.
That also applies to like different grades of crude oil. Like you can have a very, very heavy crude oil with a lot of long chain molecules. It looks like this poop bottle. Yeah. Or you can have something much lighter. So yeah, generally speaking, when you strike oil, the product that comes out of the well is a big mishmash of about 1 million different molecules, plus impurities and whatnot. So there's general categories here. You can have heavy and light crude oil, and you can have sweet and sour crude oil.
Yep.
Yeah, and those are not euphemisms. Like you can don't do this, but you can taste.
You can do it. Yes.
Sweet crude oil tastes.
You can go to the oil well on your property and take a sample and taste it.
Yeah, you will die, but like
we cannot advise enough. Please don't
taste a lot of it.
Yeah, all right.
Do not do the one scene from the movie Three Kings to yourself.
Yeah.
You will get a variety of interesting flavored cancers if you do that. Do not do that.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, heavy crude, full of big hydrocarbons. It's very viscous. It may even need to be heated to flow at all.
Your mazout type shit.
Exactly. Light crude is primarily full of the smaller hydrocarbons. It flows pretty readily. It may come out of the ground on its own. That's a classic gusher you'll see in old Western films due to pressure from the soil forcing it out of the well on its own. Sweet crude oil has very few impurities. It's mostly just straight hydrocarbons. It's especially low in sulfur. Sour crude oil has many impurities, which again is especially including sulfur. These phrases do originate from tasting it.
Incidentally, the name petroleum comes from your kind of like the oil that flows out of the ground on its own and just collects like from rocks and stuff. Rock oil, petroleum.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks, November. Some things you learn.
Yeah, you do the Cambridge Latin course, and it makes you like this for the rest of your life.
So, to get from crude oil to wonderful petroleum products that improve our lives, you need to go through many different processes, right? And there are different process units that perform these processes, and not every oil refinery has every process unit. They might be designed for specific feedstocks, while you might have a very full service refinery that can take any kind of oil you can throw at it. You might also have one that, let's say, can only take light oil. So, there's a lot of stuff that, let's say down here it doesn't have, or
because you build it, within reasonable transport of your oil field. So,
right.
Yeah. Yes.
And you know what kind of oil you're getting out of that. So unless you have multiple oil fields giving you different kinds of oil, you build it to the thing that it is.
And even if land is cheap, these facilities, they're sprawling facilities. Every new thing you plug in is a huge amount of complicated machinery that someone has to design. They have to build the thing. They have to maintain it. There are parts you need for it. It's expensive.
Huge amount of power.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to minimize how much of those you want to minimize the extra bits you stick on.
Yeah, lots of heat, lots of maintenance. So if you're let's say you're only taking in light crude oil, I don't need, let's say, a delayed coker here. I don't need that.
Yeah, please.
What else do I not need? I don't need necessarily crap. I had this written down. I thought I had this written down as an example.
You don't need some of these things.
You don't need some of these things. We're only going to talk about a few specific process units.
The anime treating at the top there. Don't know what that does.
Oh yeah, you got anime treating.
Yep.
You've got your. We got some funny names later. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying a hydro treater, to be honest. Pleasing to me.
So you've got what we're going to talk about here very briefly is the atmospheric distillation column. We're going to talk about the fluid catalytic cracker, and then we're going to talk about the very important alkylation unit.
Of course, the alkylation unit. Yep.
Yes.
Obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
Duh.
What do we do without the alkylation unit? You know.
What would we do without the
Come back,
alkylation unit?
I mean, genuinely though.
But also, I think we should speak a little bit about these different grades of oil and how we use them in the United States, specifically after the oil export ban was lifted.
This is where we post a random farmer in the US discovers the largest reserve
lithium mines or something. Yeah.
Thing again.
So the United States, as every Democratic president will tell you, we export more oil than we import now. But we still import a hell of a lot of oil. And those numbers are pretty close together. So, it's an interesting economic situation. In the United States, we have a lot of access to this very good, high quality, light, sweet crude oil. It's in Texas. It's in the Bakken Formation in the Upper West. You can frack it in Pennsylvania to a certain extent. And this is very,
buddy.
This is very.
It's in your backyard. Just go out and start digging.
Yeah, exactly. This is very easy to process. Despite this, a lot of United States refineries are actually set up to process heavy sour crude oil, which has to be imported from like Venezuela and, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, even Russia, And
they fully couldn't, even when the sanctions were coming, and cut off Russian oil completely because it just wouldn't. You crash everybody's economy.
Forgive me.
Exactly.
This does sound silly though. Why?
Yeah. Why are you
I thought
importing
capitalism
all this
was the
crap?
most
Yeah,
efficient
exactly.
distribution of resources, etc., etc.
Oh, it is. You're the moron. Shut up.
Okay,
Well,
sure.
Okay.
Why don't we just use our own oil and avoid a bunch of geopolitics? We've had for the past 50 years. For the good
Trade
chunk,
policy is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
we had an export ban, right?
Yep.
The answer is, of course, the United States. We have a lot of industrial capacity and technical know-how to build these humongous, technically advanced refineries that can take the most garbage feedstock in the world and turn it into high-grade petroleum products.
Getting your sort of like kerosene out of like a rock I found.
Yeah, exactly. So as such, either, you just didn't really drill for oil too much in the United States. There was still some domestic production, but it wasn't like, it was still more expensive than importing the oil. So, and there was no export market. Now we export it, of course. We can export that expensive light sweet crude oil to countries with less advanced refining industries.
Oh.
And then we can import the cheap, heavy sour oil that, we would have, and we get more oil for it.
The high flute.
It's just-
Sorry, go on, Nova.
It's just good business sense in a very evil way.
Yeah, you have the good product, you export it, and you take in the bad product that you can use because you have the really good oil refineries. This is not universal. There are still like imports of light sweet crude oil. I don't think we have much sour crude in the United States at all. Someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. Going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here because I had to learn all of this.
So shit, you might have to import from us, right?
Yeah.
Isn't North Sea oil mostly sour crude?
North Sea is Brent crude.
No, it is
That's
not.
sweet.
Not even close. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the podcast that checks Wikipedia in real time.
No, that's another fun one we'll get to later is, of course, there's two light sweet prices, and this was relevant for a while. There's the West Texas Intermediary, and then there's the Brent oil
Brent
price.
crude, yeah. Which
Yeah.
I've heard of, yeah.
Which Brent is just everything that's not in the United States. So this is also why it's expensive to be an underdeveloped country. Oil runs a whole lot of stuff. If you have a primitive refining sector, you're paying more for expensive oil. Or if you're especially poor, like, I don't know, you're Haiti, you actually have to import refined products, which is a total ripoff, right? Shipping finished petroleum products is expensive and it's dangerous, and you can't use a giant super tanker for it. But this is one of the reasons gas is so cheap in the United States, other than low taxes. We export the oil, and we use that money to import more oil than we would have otherwise had. That's thinking with the brain head.
I love capitalism. I love our planet and the way that our society functions. It's fab. It's wonderful.
As a result of this beautiful idea, now a bunch of poor countries have oil, but also have it at larcenous rates.
Yes. So, let's get to the process units. This is the heart of the refinery. This is the distillation column. So you pump your crude oil into the furnace, right? And then you pump the heated crude oil into the bottom, or actually in this case into the middle of the distillation column. I think it does go in the middle.
Fractional distillation. The different stuff in it is going to have different temperatures at which it just separates out.
Exactly. So each section of the distillation column is at a different temperature, and it has various pans where whatever condenses there collects, and then it gets piped out.
This is weirdly, this is one thing I sort of know about, and that it's the only bit of my GCSE chemistry I remember still.
Yeah, I remember being taught
fractional distillation.
Yeah, fractional distillation, the good stuff. Yeah. There's this in titration.
Heavy molecule goes down, light molecule goes up.
And in fact, I think they fully taught this with this example. So I've labeled this diagram before.
But most of these products here, they need more processing, right? You can see here, okay, up here at the top, you got naphthas. Those can be made into gasoline. I think also some plastic constituent products. You got your kerosenes, you got your gas oils, you got lubricants, fuel oils, asphalt.
Getting less and less reactive as we go down.
Yeah, exactly.
More like sludge as you get close to the bottom.
Yeah. Stuff at the bottom of any process unit is just called the bottoms, right? So, and that's going to be the basis of a crude joke later. Don't worry.
I was going to say none of us responded there. It was very disappointing.
I've spent too much of today doing that shit in real life to respond to jokes about it. Sorry.
Problem with the distillation column is it only produces the hydrocarbons you already have. Very heavy crude is going to produce a lot of tar and fuel oil and not much gasoline, and a light crude oil is going to produce a lot of gasoline and kerosene and not much tar. Generally speaking, the lighter products have always been more desirable, higher grade, and result in higher price fuels, right? So if I'm the owner of, a heavy crude well, I need a way to convert those heavy oils into lighter ones. Which leads us to our next process unit, the fluid catalytic cracker.
Bunch of pipes.
Yes. That is one factor which is constant in the oil refinery.
Pipes galore. Yeah, if you're selling pipes, your quid's in.
Yes. In an oil boom, sell pipes.
In an oil boom, learn to weld.
Yes.
So, cracking is the process of taking a few heavy hydrocarbon molecules and turning them into lots of light hydrocarbon molecules. The old way to do so was lots of heat and lots of pressure, but thermal cracking was overtaken by cheaper and safer fluid catalytic cracking in the 1950s.
Yeah, remember those long hydrocarbon changes, going in there and snapping those apart?
You snap them in half, yeah. So, in this case, the example I'm using is taking gas oils directly. It can take other heavier feedstock through vacuum distillation that I don't want to talk about. I don't understand that. This is not an important process to thoroughly understand here. But yeah, you're cracking these hydrocarbons in half. And then in quarters and so on and so forth. Then you have a problem that you get a lot of the product you want, but then some of the molecules got too cracked.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah. now we gotta join them back up together.
Yeah.
In a lot of refineries, this is just a waste product, or you send it off with other gases from the distillation column for separate processing. But
you can just flare this off. You can just burn this shit.
Well, obviously, you could do that.
It's a thing. Some refineries do.
But what if I want more gasoline?
I mean, who wouldn't?
So we got to go to the alkylation unit. This is where the things get a little complicated.
Now,
at this point, okay.
Those are beautiful tanks, by the way.
They're very nice, aren't they?
Very, very pretty. Full of the worst chemicals you can imagine.
Oh yeah, incredible! Like this like looks like I can only interpret this through the lens of like if this were a 3D model, this would be a really well constructed one.
Oh yeah, there's a very nice BIM model on this. Yeah, this is the shit that turns the guy into sludge at the end of RoboCop, right?
Oh yeah.
Hold that thought. So we have these lighter gases from the fluid catalytic cracker unit. They're propene and butene, right?
Hmm.
Ene, not ain. Ene. Oh, okay, yes, that means there's a double bond in there somewhere.
Yes.
I remember my organic chemistry ish.
I want to snap one of those bonds so I can get butane so I can light my lighter. You know?
Yes.
We also have isobutane that comes from another part of the plant, which is, I think, the hydrocracker or something. I don't know what that one does. We've talked about too many processes.
It's iso because it's not one line; it splits, right? That's why it's butane is 4, but the iso bit is because it's. Oh man, I'm having I'm tripping back actually. I'm remembering Dr. Atkinson and my flat back to the time when I very vigorously flirted with my male chemistry teacher, and he did not let it happen. He stopped it right there and then in the lesson in a very firm way. Not physically, that would have been exciting, but no, just like stop. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll stop flirting with my chemistry teacher.
We appreciate a safeguarding king.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. He nipped that in the bud, and I stopped doing that. I probably still have that chemistry book somewhere upstairs with my handwritten notes in it for no good reason. One of those things that I've yet to set fire to because there's no point keeping it.
I actually never took organic chemistry. Everything I've done for this podcast, I've had to learn on the fly.
I sort of want to learn. Like this is the thing. One of the benefits of the podcast is I get to go back to uni, which is what I'm doing now. And like part of me wants, like, for as long as we're doing this, just keep doing that and just end up with like fucking 50 bachelor's degrees in whatever I feel like for that given like 3 or 4 years.
It's kind of fun.
I love it, genuinely. I discover every time I learn something how much more I don't know, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I can fill this in. You know, I can sort of like because I've learned like 1 or 2 things. I'm like, I don't know shit about, in this case, organic chemistry. And I'm like,
well, it's interesting. Lots of people moaned about organic chemistry as being the bit of chemistry they didn't like or they found annoying. But I was the opposite. I hate inorganic chemistry because there are no rules and none of it makes any bloody sense. Whereas I always enjoyed organic chemistry because there were nice rules and you got to play with the little plastic balls and make models of these increasingly fun, complicated looking molecules. I always enjoyed that. Shout out to organic chemistry heads.
I actually also, the limited amount of organic chemistry I got in chemistry too, I thought was pretty fun.
Then you look at the people who do either of these things for a living, right? Like professional, either organic chemists or inorganic chemists. And it's like, what do you do for work? Oh, like some of the most evil shit imaginable.
Yeah. You get into petroleum engineering, yeah. No, I just want to look at it and say, haha, look how long the molecule is. So anyway, using these 2 chemicals plus an acid, right? The isobutene and I lost my place here.
The isobutane, the butene, and the propene.
The propene, yes. Plus an acid, we can create alkylates, right? Which are very high octane hydrocarbons. Like isooctane here is the standard for 100 octane.
2,2,4-trimethylpentane. Oh, nice.
That sounds like some shit that I don't want on me or around me.
It's, I mean, people have survived getting splashed with racing fuel.
Yeah, survive is doing all the work there, though.
Yeah, burns so clean that you are on fire invisibly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ouch.
So we can blend these hydrocarbons into our final product and produce premium gasoline from our horrible, heavy, sour crude oil. So a fairly common process, which is pictured here, uses sulfuric acid, right?
It's really funny that part of the reason why you blend these into your gasoline is to reduce knock, which previously you would use lead for. So
yes,
this whole thing stops you from getting lead poisoning. Gives you a bunch of other different poisons, but like, you know.
Yeah, no lead poisoning because you have good gasoline. So yeah, fairly common process, which is pictured here, uses sulfuric acid in the alkylation unit, right? It's not particularly efficient. It consumes a lot of sulfuric acid, enough that you need a dedicated sulfuric acid process on site to supply it.
Oh my God.
It also requires refrigeration. And so this seems very inconvenient to produce a whole shitload of sulfuric acid constantly. What if there was a more efficient way?
What if there was a better way?
Let's talk about hydrofluoric acid.
Ooh.
Don't get this on you.
Yes.
or just
Near
don't.
you.
Just don't.
Yeah, don't get this mixed up with the cortisol. Like, this is no. Don't do that. This is not mouthwash. This is critically.
Yeah. So hydrofluoric acid is not to be confused with hydrofluoric acid is not to be confused with hydrochloric acid.
Yeah,
right?
that one's fine. You can mouthwash with that, no problem.
Pretty much, yeah. It's in your stomach. It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This one has a fluorine instead of a chlorine. So this stuff is really nasty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So my local and Zencaster crashed on me. Zencaster is showing finished. It crashed at 48 minutes in. How far in are we?
We are 1 hour and 2.
Okay, so I've lost 14 minutes of audio.
Okay, well, I mean, you were muted for most of that.
No,
right?
I was talking. I was making jokes, but it's fine. Let's just. I don't have time to redo it. So.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry
we simply eat the lack of
we
Liam.
Eat the 14 minutes.
Yeah, and we keep the local recordings and send those to Dev.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And we need more Liam in the second half. Then that's
right.
the only way
I can do that.
Yeah. So what we need to do is need to restart the Zencaster.
Yes.
And
1 second.
We're back.
I believe we're back.
We've never been so back.
Okay.
Are we back?
We're back.
Oh, let me get rid of my face. Goodbye. Lovely.
Then we will need to resync the audio.
Yes.
Also,
Do we want? Are we going for? Are we keeping keeping our locals running as they were?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay.
That will save so much of a headache.
Thank you, Devin. Hi, Devin.
All right. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Let's get back into it. Hydrofluoric acid burns.
Yes. Okay. Hydrofluoric acid. Not to be confused with hydrochloric acid. This one's got a fluorine instead of a chlorine on it,
Don't
right?
fuck around with a fluorine. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Like, if it's got the like phoneme fluor in there and it's not in your toothpaste, go nowhere near it.
Yeah. So this stuff is really nasty. It's extremely corrosive to the point where normal acid handling protocols don't work very well.
Oh.
It'll eat glass.
It'll
burn sand.
Oh dear.
It reacts vigorously with most metals. It boils at room temperature and becomes a very nasty gas called hydrogen fluoride.
Yeah.
It's also extremely fond of flesh and bone.
Oh.
I mean, aren't we all? But you know.
Yeah. HF burns are very nasty. The first thing it does is it takes out your nerves so you don't feel anything. So you don't seek treatment for hours afterwards until problems start to appear.
I was going to say, because that one doesn't sound too bad at the start. Everyone likes having their nerves taken out.
HF readily penetrates your skin and your flesh and goes right to work dissolving your bones.
No.
Yeah. Don't worry, it also fucks up your flesh as well.
Oh, okay.
Comforting.
And distributes pretty widely, because once it gets into your blood, it will react with the calcium in it, which is a bad time. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll go into your circulatory system. It's also distributed enough around the body, causes horrible damage everywhere. It also happily penetrates latex gloves.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
This is not the worst chemical out there, but it's probably one of the worst ones commonly used in industry and in industrial quantities.
Yeah, all the others are also fluoride.
These
get hauled around in trains, right?
No.
Okay.
You don't transport. Well, generally, you just don't transport hydrofluoric acid.
Okay.
It doesn't move. Like it stays where it is.
Yeah, you got to make it on site. But they also said that about vinyl chloride.
Oh boy!
And they do definitely move that around in trains. Okay. I like the little picture of the molecule here, which looks like kind of the aftermath of one of my kind of lazy attempts to make a new planet in Universe Sandbox. Yeah.
So, in the alkylation unit, hydrofluoric acid can be used in place of sulfuric acid. It produces less byproducts. It lasts longer. You can use a lot less hydrogen fluoride than sulfuric acid, and it can produce high-octane alkylates from a wider variety of feedstocks. The downside is you have to over-engineer the hell out of the alkylation unit to ensure it doesn't eat itself. Now, this is by and large a solved problem.
Yeah, and you just have engineers, chemical engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers who just, you just pay them a bit more money and they design you a fancier thing that doesn't turn into mush and then spread the
exactly. Just gotta do the maintenance on it.
I'm still. I had to track down the John Clark in his book Ignition about chlorine trifluoride, one of the many terrible chemicals you get in rocket engineering.
Oh god, yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah. Extremely toxic, hypergolic with every known fuel, so rapidly hypergolic that no ignition delay has ever been measured. Also hypergolic with cloth, wood, test engineers, asbestos, sand, and water with which it reacts explosively.
Oh, it's a good job there's not loads of water in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it can be kept in some of the ordinary structural metals, steel, copper, aluminium, etc., because of the formation of a thin film of insoluble metal fluoride, which protects the bulk of the metal. If, however, this coat is melted or scrubbed off, the operator is confronted with the problem of a metal fluorine fire. Ooh. For dealing with this situation, I have always recommended a good pair of running shoes. It's a good book.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Now, so the Girard Point refinery was relatively unique in the United States. We've talked a lot about importing sour crude oil for use as feedstock. This was a very large refinery set up exclusively for light sweet crude oil. A whole lot of the process units for heavy sour oil were just never installed. Most notably, the one that really makes the economics work right now, which is a delayed coker.
Well, it's too delayed.
Yeah, exactly. Never showed up.
Yeah.
This meant that in the latter half of the 20th century, it began to have sort of questionable economics.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
So this is a combination of two earlier refineries. The Atlantic Refining Company's Point Breeze Refinery and Gulf Oil's Girard Point Refinery. So, hold on. There's, the Platte Bridge is here. So... Actually, I think this may only be a picture of the Girard Point side, and then Point Breeze is over there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Jeez. Okay, so just spans the river.
Crikey.
Yeah, exactly. So, Atlantic had interests in the oldest oil fields in Pennsylvania, thus it located its major refinery in close proximity to both the oil and to population centers.
Great.
Oh, good. I mean, safety wasn't invented yet.
Yes. Well, people had to walk to work, I mean... Gulf located a refinery here because it was near population centers, and by the 20th century, or the early 20th century, big oil tankers were finally practical. Obviously not that big, but they're not like merchant sailing ships filled with barrels of crude oil.
Sure.
Right? Both these sites have had a lot of history and a lot of legacy infrastructure. They've been refining oil on this site consistently since 1874.
Jesus.
And the site has not been without its fair share of accidents in that time.
Oh dear.
Right?
Okay.
One I thought was worth mentioning would be the 1975 fire, just because it may tie into a certain other podcast. I didn't have too much time to go into detail on this.
Big beautiful golf sign though.
Oh yeah, right on this big beautiful Art Deco building that just got demolished. Yeah. Don't have time to go into a lot of detail on this. This could almost be its own episode, but a tank exploded from being overfilmed. The fire was almost contained. Another tank exploded right as the firefighters were containing that fire. Fire Commissioner Joseph Rizzo watched 8 of his men consumed by flames right in front of his eyes.
Oh, dear.
Jesus.
And then Mayor Frank Rizzo broke his leg.
Good. Should have broke the rest of him.
What, the fire commissioner's leg?
No. Joseph Rizzo was traumatized. Frank Rizzo was on the scene, also there just because he was Frank Rizzo. And then when one of the tanks exploded, his security guard ran away and tripped over the mayor, breaking the mayor's leg.
A bad day to be a Rizzo.
Yeah.
And the podcast is called No Gods, No Mayors.
Yeah.
Go to nogodsnomayors.com.
So this was an 11-alarm fire. It was the worst fire the refinery had until there was a 9-alarm fire a week later. It was not a week. It was more like a year. Anyway, eventually...
This facility has worked 364 days without a lost time accident.
Don't ask about
Out of time to
365.
cause one. Now, Sunoco, we remember, took over Atlantic Refining in 1988. In 1994, they take over the Gulf Oil half, which was then owned by Chevron.
God,
right?
they could really fucking do a logo back in the day. couldn't they?
There's
really
a
could.
NASCAR, which they don't make.
The little swoosh on the end there. I guess it's a serif or serif. Never been sure how you pronounce that, but
I think
yeah,
It's sort of a serif.
Yeah, it's nice.
Semi-serif. Sunoco then does as so many vertically integrated oil businesses did and starts to exit the production side of the business. They idle the Marcus Hook refinery. They demolish their Eagle Point refinery in West Stepford Township, New Jersey. And Sunoco sells half of the combined Point Breeze Gerard Point refinery to the Carlyle Group in 2012.
it's like investment guys.
Yes, exactly. They subsequently focus entirely on retail sales of fuel. So, guess who makes the official fuel of NASCAR?
Not Sunoco.
Not Sunoco. They just sell it.
It's all brands now.
It's just brands. It's brands all the way down. The Carlyle Group subsequently scrounges up some funds to keep this antique refinery going under the moniker Philadelphia Energy Solutions, or PES.
This is a shit logo.
Flip
And
on as
the
hell.
reason why it's a shit logo is because it's so low effort, because it's so clearly just like spin this thing out, call it something, fucking, I don't know,
Collect money,
Philadelphia
right.
Energy Solutions.
Yeah, sure. Essentially, the success of this project required a few conditions, one of which was privatizing the Philadelphia Gas Works, the subsequent construction of a large diameter natural gas pipeline from the refinery to the fracking fields, and the conversion of the facility to take more natural gas as a feedstock. There would also be just a little bit of direct public subsidy.
Always is.
When we say a little bit, well, how much are we talking here?
How
How many zeros?
Hmm.
Several.
Probably, yeah. I was about to say about 7. Now, the thing is, almost none of this pans out.
Oh.
Despite Mayor Michael Nutter's best efforts to sell the gas works, it's still in public hands
Suck
to this
that,
day.
Mayor Nutter.
Yeah,
Second name alert. Mayor what now?
Nutter.
Mayor Nutter.
We're not making that up. We know how
I
to
met
do.
him once. He is kind of a goofy guy.
He's a goofy dude.
So obviously this refinery is sort of on shaky grounds. What happens next?
Good things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back in crude oil came to the rescue.
Some random farmer discovers the largest deposit of the resource.
So PES winds up benefiting from so-called shut-in oil, right? Oil that's being produced but can't easily be transported due to the lack of pipeline capacity. That meant that a lot of the sweet crude oil that was sitting in North Dakota with no way to be processed and no way to be transported.
Yep, shout out to the DAPL protesters.
Yes,
they
exactly.
were right.
Mm-hmm.
So this resulted in the one crude oil exchange, the West Texas Intermediate, trading at a discount compared to Brent crude oil everywhere else. This was compounded by the fact that while the Bakken formation was being exploited, the U.S. still had a blanket export ban on domestic crude oil. So PES was in an ideal spot to exploit this. It had pretty good rail access. It had ready supplies of cheap, sweet crude oil. All they had to do was take in a dozen or so mile-long Bakken crude oil trains that went right through the center city.
Right next to Chop, yeah.
Yeah, right next to Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, right here.
Oh God.
Yeah, if you're a sick kid, you can look out on this like crude oil train and feel better.
There's like a dozen of them a day.
Thankfully, there are no previous episodes of this podcast that talk about the consequences of running these sorts of trains through built-up areas.
Oh,
Wouldn't worry about it.
Completely safe. I think they did derail one in the South Philly rail yard once.
God.
Did not explode, but it did derail. So it looked for a while like, all right, we've carved out this insane niche that shouldn't exist. And the refinery's future was, secure. And then two things happened.
Things always be happening.
So two things happened that ruined this brief run. Number one is there was a big downturn in oil prices in 2014, during which time OPEC refused to cut production. That lowered the Brent price and therefore the discount that PES was counting on to stay competitive. Then in 2015, the oil export ban was lifted. Now your West Texas Intermediate oil was an international market, which also meant there was basically no discount on it anymore.
So the whole thing became
so
pointless.
All of a sudden they were paying a lot of money to to bring all this oil down on so many goddamn trains a day. It was constant.
A dozen
for a
mile-long trains a day.
A day.
This is like me when I fuck up in workers and resources.
This is like how many trains you have to run in Transport Fever 2 because the game basically makes you run an entire railway like a metro system. Yeah.
Interesting how we both went to the video game that we play about this, and no one has mentioned City Skylines 2.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Oh, now there's an episode. Anyway, no, there's not. It's not. It's fine.
Yeah, it was. The state, I believe, paid for them to build a new crude oil terminal. It was called a rapid unloading terminal, so they could get these mile-long crude oil trains, turned around in a few hours.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, these they moved a lot of oil in by train, and all of a sudden it didn't work anymore.
Oh, stonks to stinks.
Stinks.
Not stonks.
Not stonks.
PES couldn't afford to ship in the oil by rail. They go back to using ships, right? A brand new state-funded unloading facility was written off.
Ooh.
This was sort of spun at the time as addressing the city's concerns about having all that crude oil run through Center City. It was not about that. It was about economics.
Yeah, like they cared about Center City. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, PES can only struggle on for a few more years. The entire company enters bankruptcy in 2018. Ultimately, the outlook here is very bleak. This is a large, old-fashioned refinery with high labor costs and a limited range of expensive feedstocks. Upgrading the facility was out of the question at this point, so they turned to President Donald J. Trump.
Oh, Jesus.
and asked for relief from complying with the renewable fuel standard, which is the one that makes you put ethanol in the gasoline because corn ethanol is sustainable, I guess.
Yeah, you're sort of like your Great Plains farmer's bribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was designed back in 2005 to accelerate the development of advanced biofuels, and I'm sure we'll get one of them one of these days.
In fact, this in a way had an echo to the last episode we recorded, actually. Around about this time, everyone was convinced that biofuels were the future and they were going to save everyone's ass.
I remember that.
Any second now.
There's also this sort of inscrutable financialized credit system, which during the bankruptcy, the Trump administration allowed PES to bend the rules on, and that raised them about $350 million.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Right.
I couldn't
Oil
figure
guys
out how
when
it
they
works.
find something that doesn't involve a financial instrument.
Yes. So they got their waiver, they got the money, but that wasn't enough to fix the finances. They make it through Chapter 11 bankruptcy by the skin of their teeth. They needed major investments to keep the plant competitive, and a miracle was needed for that money to be found, right?
It's like the bit in a Disney movie or whatever. We need
20,000
like $350 million to save the community center.
Yeah, we're gonna start a bake sale to save the neighborhood oil refinery.
Putting on a show, yeah.
Yeah.
The
According to the
inspirational
union
music rolls and just 50,000 people are dead of HF exposure.
This is from the Union of Concerned Scientists report. PES also expected major turnarounds coming due in order to continue operating, and these would require investments in equipment renewals. The sulfuric alkylation unit in 2018, low sulfur gasoline would need new equipment in 2019. They would need a sulfur plant in 2019 and 2020. They would need a distillate desulfurizer in 2020.
What are you doing with this fucking sulfur, man? Like,
Fucking
make
it.
your mind
Fucking
up.
it.
They need a hydrofluoric alkylation turnaround in 2020. They need the turnaround here is doing really heavy maintenance, right? Gerard Point fluid catalytic cracker 2019, reformer in 2020. I don't know what an UDEX says, but they need that. Yeah. Butane isomerization unit.
You got to isomerize your butane.
Gotta do it.
Yeah. All this stuff would be incredibly fucking expensive to do.
Just a standard ass Amazon Prime order list right there.
I'm pretty sure you got to go to Alibaba for this.
But just like, we need you to build us a new oil refinery.
Essentially, yeah. You were looking at renewing all this equipment. It was also unclear if PES was actually in compliance with existing environmental standards on gasoline.
Like they give a shit.
So the company's finances were clearly still on the rocks when in January 2019 they scrapped a major maintenance turnaround, right, where the plant would actually have to be shut down for a very long time. So whether this would have caught the problem we're about to see is anyone's guess, but they were at this point deferring maintenance.
Oh, that's always a recipe for success.
This is John Oble.
Yeah, good God.
Okay, here's another annoying diagram from the CSB.
Boy.
So in the red here, this is the actual alkylation unit, right? But we also have to talk about the things that happen afterwards.
Shitload of pipes.
Yes, not all of the product is fully processed in the alkylation unit, so we have some additional processes to return usable product back to the alkylation unit.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the depropanizer, right? And the propane stripper.
The two sides of Hank Hill's nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
At 3:34 a.m., an operator in the refinery's main control room starts the process of reconfiguring the alkylation unit so that the propane stripper bottoms.
That's where? Fucking where?
Yeah, down here at the bottom. That's the products that come out the bottom.
Yeah, likely place for them to be.
Exactly. They flowed to a treatment unit for storage instead of being recycled back into the alkylation unit, right?
Yeah.
This is to remove excess propane from the unit because the propane just sort of accumulated over time. The operator also slowly increased the feed into the propane stripper from 73 barrels per hour to 80 barrels per hour.
Pumping 80 barrels per hour into the propane stripper. God.
Yeah.
Jesus. And presumably, like, commanding all of this with the finest, like, industrial technology of the 1950s.
Yes.
Jesus.
Well, probably about 1973.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which I believe is when this unit was installed.
You're like your sort of anti-woke 1970s, like, propane stripper control unit.
Yes.
So 73. So all of this is like slightly charbroiled from the 1975 fire.
Good question. I think this is on the this would be on the Gulf oil side. So yeah.
It's got lots of like white, like hand wipe marks and handprints in it, and people saying
we tried the
Jerry
Mr.
was
Magic
here,
eraser,
and lots of
but-
cocks. Yeah, that's it. Just drawn in the soot on the side of the tanks. Nice.
So at just after 4 a.m., an elbow between the depropanizer accumulator
Oh boy.
We're getting to Doctor Who
And-
shit now. Okay, yeah.
and the propane stripper ruptured.
Oh,
It all comes back to pipes.
It does.
Once
Yes.
again.
It does.
It's all bad welding at the end of the day.
This is dangerous because A, propane is flammable.
no.
I've heard of this.
B, at this part of the process, the propane is contaminated with more than trace amounts of hydrofluoric acid.
Oh, fuck sticks.
Something like 2.5%.
Anything above 0% is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's 2.5% more hydrofluoric acid than I ever want involved in anything around.
Correct.
Yes. So, okay. Down here we have one thing I have to say about this diagram is that for some reason north is down.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have down here, here is the alkylation unit as a whole. There is a control room for the local operators that's attached to the old control room. The new control room was blast proof.
Oh, good.
Yeah, exactly. And you have 2 field operators inside the blast resistant control room. One of them is outside.
Oh, no.
Oh boy.
No.
All 3 of them heard a bang and a roaring noise.
Oh, you never want to hear a bang and a roaring noise.
Yeah.
No.
In an oil refinery, I suspect not. No.
Yeah. The one who was outside went back into the control room
He fucking did.
through the old control room. Saw to his horror a large cloud of ground-hugging vapor.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the juice was loose.
Oh, fuck.
This is when I pull my
This
oil
is-
refinery employee service weapon that is only used for like myself instantly. You have to bleep that as well. But
Sunoco branded
this is-
cyanide tablet. Yeah, I got you.
They should issue you those in these situations, I feel.
It's not a situation you want to be in.
No.
So, at this point, alarms start blaring in the control room. There's various low flow warnings, acid detectors, all kinds of thing. The field controllers are overwhelmed instantly. One of them inside the control room. So one of them opens the door from inside the control room, sees the vapor cloud had now enveloped the whole building, and he shut it again.
Yeah, what else do you do, right? Like,
Yeah.
fuck this.
Yeah, no. Well, the other
Doing the
guy-
kind of like looking through the window and the door like a teacher asking if they can
Yeah.
borrow a kid from a class.
The other decides to take a look as well. He opens the door. He sees the vapor cloud, which immediately ignites, flinging him back into the control room and slamming the door shut.
Yeah, either you close the door or the door will be closed for you.
Wait, the door.
Yeah,
oh, because
exactly.
it's an out. Okay, that makes sense. It's an outwards opening door. I don't know why I was visualizing a door opening inwards for some reason, but no. Okay, that makes sense. Outwards opening door, slammed shut.
Blast resistance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was shaken but not injured, so that was just a
just like ragdolled across a controller.
Source engine ragdoll.
Covered in soot.
Oh, Nico.
The first flash had rapidly consumed most but not all of the propane, so the field operators made their escape out the north door of the control room.
It just burns off. Perfect.
Yeah. They radioed the central control room. They needed to activate the rapid acid de-inventory system.
That's that's such a euphemism. I love the de-inventory. I love to be
Not too much of
de-inventory.
the shit now inventory
Evaluate
right
it.
I think we gotta de-inventory this guy.
All of us have been on a recent de-inventory risk of AMLO. It's I like that.
I mean, this guy just got de-inventoried across a room, you know?
So this is a clever piece of kit. Essentially, this process unit is so goddamn hazardous, the designers foresaw the need to shove all the horrible chemical contents into one big protected drum as quickly as possible in the event of a fire or other problem.
Uh-huh.
The rapid acid de-inventory system does just that.
Well, hooray.
Put that on a t-shirt. It's so good. I love that.
This is cool. This is genuinely cool. This is like, it triggers the same sort of feeling for me as the like Apollo program Escape Tower,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Something needs to happen very quickly, and you know, violence will be used to like achieve this end.
Yeah. So essentially, turn on the pumps. All the stuff from these two tanks up here flows into this tank down here, and also this tank here. I think all you have to do is open a valve.
That's reassuring.
It's just like the mother of all valves.
Yeah, exactly. Everything gets pumped into the big tank, and it sits there off-site and protected as a horrible pile of acidic slop. Neat.
Yeah. Do you want your acidic slop on-site or off-site?
Yeah, exactly.
Ask yourself, hogs.
So 2 minutes and 21 seconds after the incident started, the rapid acid de-inventory was activated, but it would take some time to pump all 43,000 gallons of acid and product into the tank. In the meantime, more problems were developing with the process unit. Emergency responders pulled up about 4:06 a.m. They began setting up monitors. That's the firefighting sense of monitor, which is a fixed water cannon that's pointed at the fire.
So not just a guy with a pair of binoculars and a whistle.
Looks bad, man.
They set up a very low-lying 19th century early warship.
Yeah, no, they got a bunch of big 36-inch gaming monitors.
Set up a bunch of Merrimacs.
Oh, God.
It's like a monitor, but more racist.
Huh.
Yes.
Yep.
There were additional very large permanent water cannons that were designed to mitigate any HF release. Those would have also assisted in suppressing the fire, which was still ongoing, but the remote activate controls for them had failed, and no one could get to them.
Oh, that's terrific.
To manually turn them on.
We're gonna need you to put on this suit and go and activate the fucking HF cannon.
You killed those 6 songs about you. See you later.
The suit is coming.
Oh no!
I was joking.
You gotta step away from the lathe.
Like the number of times this has happened, people are gonna think that I read ahead. I swear to you, I have not read ahead on this.
So the fire was too hot to get to the controls, or to manually operate the pumps. And at 4:15 a.m., the first small explosion occurred. Then a second occurred at 4:19 a.m. Both of these were contained within the unit, but the fire was worsening. And then, yeah, the whole damn alkylation unit blew up at 4:22 in the morning.
This can't be good for the camera.
No.
Oh dear, that's bleaching your sensor right there. I did not like that the previous slide just casually had 2 explosions on it. It didn't. There was some unpleasant foreshadowing there. Just 2 casual explosions. A small explosion.
A couple tiny ones is normal.
As opposed to this, which is like a professional explosion.
Yeah. Ooh. So the treater feed surge drum, that's V1 up here. Essentially, that was just a big tank for the feedstock for the alkylation unit. It gives up the ghost. It fails catastrophically, and it explodes, sending refinery parts hundreds of feet into the air. Infamously, half of this tank was found 2,000 feet away on the other side of the Schuylkill River.
That's bad.
Jesus.
So this explosion also woke up everyone in the city.
I can bet it did.
Yeah.
Except me, because I fell asleep at like 2:30.
You were asleep with us. Yeah, you were asleep. I think we were both asleep with this because we were both drunk.
The two Philadelphians who were just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear about the thing last night? No.
If I go, I go. Like, we lived like, what, 2 miles from it? We would have been in the...
Hold on. I'm measuring.
Well, Ross, while you do that measurement, I want to briefly talk about explosions. So most explosions are no fun at all, and they're just like a big pump of air, and they just make a load of dust, and there's no big fireball. This is a proper Hollywood, like, big, beautiful.
Once you get those hydrocarbons in there,
fireball,
you know?
yeah. Ooh. Ooh.
Very, very reactive, you know?
Yeah.
And very, like...
I mean, the pyromaniac in me is very pleased, but also this is in the middle of an enormous built-up area, so...
I would say we were somewhere between 3 and 3.5 miles.
All right, I don't think that we would have been going too good, dude.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know if I've told this story before, but there's in the Scottish Central Belt near in Falkirk, kind of near the Grangemouth refinery. So there's all the petrochemical stuff in the Scottish Central Belt off the Firth of Forth, Grangemouth. The Falkirk football stadium, it was built in, like, they didn't quite get the distances right. And so one of their intended wings of the football stadium could not be built because it was inside the dotted line of the this bit gets vaporized zone if Grangemouth refinery goes up.
Oh, good enough.
So I mean, I presume you wouldn't be doing too nice if you're on the other side of the dotted line either. But so that if anyone's ever wondering why there's a half of or a quarter of Falkirk Football Club's stadium's missing, that's why.
Huh.
This refinery is interesting in that there was actually a small residential neighborhood essentially inside of it.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, I probably should have
led with that.
Put that up somewhere. Yeah, I probably should have led with that. Yeah, it's right off of Passyunk Avenue. Hold on, I'll put the Google map over here.
There it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Oh yeah,
How did this happen? How did this come to occur?
Well, it used to be 2 refineries.
Oh, okay, and people just lived in the middle.
Walter
They
Street,
lived in the
Ernest
middle.
Street,
And then the gas works was over here.
Mm-hmm.
Porter Street. Yeah, the Sunoco gas station.
You got a nice big gasometer too. Anyway, before I reveal secrets here,
Never go on Twitter. That's the secret.
Yeah, exactly.
So almost everyone except Roz and Liam are awake now. That's where we're at. Sit rep. Everyone's awake except Roz and Liam.
How are we doing on like broken windows?
I don't think there were that many. This is not like
This
a
could have gone
high-speed
way
explosion.
fucking worse.
Yeah, as you say, like a big Hollywood. Well, it's like Hollywood, so it's not a huge It's not like a Beirut sort of high-speed blast. It's a very big, fiery, powerful, but fairly slow explosion.
Yeah. So after the explosion, at around 4:39 in the morning, the shift supervisor donned protective gear. I think it's called a bunker suit.
Weird name. Protective gear.
Protective gear.
And he finally made it to the water pumps and turned them on. This was sufficient to suppress residual hydrogen fluoride, but not enough to contain the fire.
So he actually had to do the like Fallout
The
3
work,
ending
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to put on a horrible suit and go into the horrible fire. Turn on a water cannon.
The big suit from Loki Series 2. You walk out there.
You know what? I appreciate that it's the shift supervisor, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you could have got a higher ranking guy to do that, but like, it's not like that one safety third we got where it's like, oh, the apprentice has to do it. You know?
Hold on.
Your duties include making tea, making coffee, donning the fucking hyper asbestos suit and like entering into the zone of danger.
Yeah, the person with the tier 2 health plan is for once is the person who's actually going out and putting the work in. Okay, fine, good.
Yeah.
I apologize for this. I really have to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
It's all good. Okay. We'll vamp.
Yeah, we can tread more
time.
Yeah, that's fine.
My calligraphy supplies, or my first batch thereof.
Go on.
So I got a bunch of inks from a Korean company called I'm gonna fuck up the name. It's like wearing Gyul. Gyul is like a letter in Korean, I think. And yeah, I got a bunch of these. I have a bunch of like cheap Chinese fountain pens from AliExpress, which are very, very good. And I'm just like while we're recording, I'm just like fucking around on Scratchpad, trying to get back into some calligraphy.
That's sweet.
So,
That's really cool.
Yeah, having a great time.
I one of the things I used to really enjoy doing when I did art and design advanced hire, in fact, was I used to love just getting in and getting into the pens and like just doing some really nice pen and ink stuff. It was and I suppose that kind of foreshadowed my interest in typefaces and stuff, which I'm a nerd about. So yeah.
So I can't draw at all for shit, but I'm not a horrible calligrapher. Something I used to do. So I'm gonna try and get back into it because I really like the kind of like Yeah. I mean, obviously, like another tremendously expensive and annoying hobby. But
oh, dude, you have to post some of the results. I'm super keen to see it. It sounds really cool.
Yeah. If I get any that I'm like happy with, I need like a proper workspace for it.
Sure.
But I'm hopeful for having one of those soon.
Yes.
I really like black letter calligraphy, like
that stuff looks,
like fracture.
That stuff looks so cool.
Yeah. Very like to me easier, right? Because you're just you're like holding the pen flat. You're not doing any of the like weird sort of like like copperplate or Spencerian stuff. But yeah, you don't even have to like have a kind of like I don't know. It works well with like thick line weights as well.
One of the calligraphy style that's always appealed to me is ornate, but obviously kind of obviously crafted in a sense. So some of them are so exquisite that you almost cannot tell that it's not been mass produced, and I mean that in a positive way because it's so intricate.
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
Perfectly created. I've always quite enjoyed ones where you've got all the serifs, all the sort of the really fancy stuff in the style, but also you can almost see the hand rotations to achieve the different marks. I don't know why I suppose a bit like a locomotive that's been hand bashed, that's all the metalwork's like hand bashed, and you can see all the dents from the original hammer that built it. I find a satisfaction in that. But
a little sort of like imperfections or like textures.
Exactly.
And,
you can sort of see the person who's kind of holding the pen, which is quite nice.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
This has been Calligraphy Hour.
Calligraphy Hour. Calligraphy Hour begins now and does not
end. You will be subject to Calligraphy Hour.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like calligraphy in itself could be a decent episode.
I'd be happy to record that.
Because there's a lot of history there, and like
I'm sure there are some disasters as a result of misinterpreted or misrepresented. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why black letter calligraphy exists, even though it's less legible than stuff that preceded it, is because it's like faster to write. When I say it's easier, I'm not just saying that. It's a technological advancement in the sense of like fucking like I don't know, Middle Ages Cory Doctorow or early modern Cory Doctorow would call it shitification, right? Yeah. But like because what you're getting is a scriptorium that can produce books much more quickly, but they are harder to read. And like ultimately what you had this kind of like return with a V2 tradition of like Carolingian hand, which is much more readable, much more humanistic, and which would otherwise take longer. So yeah.
I mean, let's just do this. We don't need to talk about the aftermath of this horrifying explosion. I'm absolutely hooked now. There is absolutely now going to be a Wikipedia tab explosion that's going to keep me entertained until 4:30 in the morning.
Interesting thing to read about is court hand or Anglicana, which was the one of the distinctly English forms of calligraphy, but which existed solely within the legal system. And it was like court rolls and stuff like that had to be written in Anglicana. And even as late as 19th century, after it was sort of banned, after it fell out of use, to go into legal archives, you still needed to be able to read this very strange kind of script that kind of long since no longer exists.
Now I'm fascinated to know about the history of the ability to read who a particular what a particular school or even trained individual that were the origin of certain forms and within or certain text within the form, and protections against doing things like deliberate errors to protect, but repeated ones protect against forgery and stuff like that. Now I'm very okay.
I'm back.
The tabs continue.
Let's go. I gotta do a bunch of shit.
Okay. So, anyway, the shift supervisor turns on the fixed monitors, right? This is enough to suppress the residual hydrogen fluoride that's in the atmosphere around the process unit, but not enough to contain the fire, right? Additional firefighters make it to the scene, including both firefighters from the plant itself, from the local private industrial fire department, which just sort of covers all of the chemical plants in this area.
Horrible job.
Yeah,
Fuck that for a game of soldiers.
Well, they got a lot of specialized knowledge, which is useful. And from the Philadelphia Fire Department. It took over 24 hours to extinguish the blaze, with the final embers being put out on the morning of Saturday, June 22nd. The stored HF mixture had to be neutralized over a period of months, which was completed on August 27th.
Just slowly pumping fucking Pepto-Bismol into the vat full of kill you instantly chemical.
Ultimately,
how do you neutralize a giant HF spit like that?
I mean, you joke, but I'm just visualizing it. It is just guys with 250 crates of Pepto-Bismol just emptying those pink little balls in there and hoping.
One at a time.
Yeah, you have to.
They send in the Gaviscon cum firefighters.
You have to turn it into a salt in some method.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to precipitate out all that fluoride. I don't know exactly how it works.
Nasty work.
Right in,
yes.
if you do know.
Ultimately, there's no injuries and no fatalities, which is astonishing considering how bad it could have gotten.
That's amazing. I mean, so even with all of this extreme degeneration of the plant and everything else around it, the system works, sort of.
Sort of, yes.
Sort of doing a lot of work
still
there,
blew
yeah.
up. Hi, Milkshake.
Uh-oh.
No, that's the microphone.
Hi, Milkshake.
Milkshake, unpaid contributor.
I was about to say, yeah. So let's talk about what almost happened here. This is one of the goldfish tests, right? Where the Department of Energy released large quantities of hydrogen fluoride in the desert to study what would happen.
Oh, the Department of Energy is some scary fucking bureaucrats. Closest thing to the Federal Bureau of Control going.
They're just fucking around in the desert. They're just out there doing shit.
Hope you're not an armadillo in this cloud.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Prior to these tests, oil refiners thought that in a large HF release, it would remain liquid. Milkshake, get out of the way of the notes. He's very happy to see me. I've been away for a bit.
Oh.
It would remain liquid and pool on the ground. Thus, alkylation units were protected by the standard containment dikes that you see around oil tanks and things like that.
How much did they actually believe this? How much was this just, I don't want to pay for
who's to say, maybe, right.
stuff?
They're very much sort of, I don't want to think about this.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't happen. When these tests were performed, of course, a different condition was observed. The HF forms of massive vapor cloud that, God damn it, Milkshake.
Saboteur.
I was about to say. The HF forms a massive vapor cloud that then spreads out over the landscape, reducing animal and vegetable alike into sort of goo.
Oh, I do not like that.
Yeah. This is not ideal in the middle of a major city. particularly when prevailing winds would drive the HF cloud directly into the densest parts of South Philly.
Can you imagine Philly 9/11, but it's just like everybody gets reduced to goo?
Yeah, everyone gets turned into a sort of slop. Yeah, that would not be good.
Soup-like homogenate, you might say.
Well, I'm imagining, I don't know, maybe there's a house show running really late and the gas comes in and, concentrates in the basement.
Oh my God, jeez.
Not good, not good.
At least it didn't happen in Pittsburgh, because that would have taken out a bunch more of them because of the basement toilets.
That's a good point, yeah. No, the house show's in the basement. It would be I don't know, maybe it's like a metal band with one of those insane logos.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone in there looks like that insane logo.
Oh, God.
Not good.
Metal Sucks used to do unreadable metal logo of the week when I was always there.
Oh, I love your life, Liam.
So anyway, we have a lot to thank the control room workers for. Had that HF not been de-inventoried so quickly, there would have been a lot of people just turned into sort of goo.
Well, we would have been de-inventorying HF. We would have been de-inventorying a third of the population of Philly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they have to
quite
go around
literally
with like a septic tank truck to, just sort of suck
God.
everyone.
Bring out
They'd be
your
spraying
dead.
people into the drain.
Yeah. You would be turned
They
into
just-
a fine red mist.
They just pumped it out of the environment.
Yes.
Funniest thing you can do with this is just like, we'll just put this over here.
I'll just put it
And now
somewhere
it's-
else.
Now
Now it's not part of
somewhere
the
else.
problem anymore.
Ooh.
Well, anyway, around $750 million of damage was done to the PES refinery, which, to remind you, was old, expensive to operate, only took expensive feedstock, generally very annoying to own and have to operate.
More so now, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah, because it doesn't have that alkylation unit. You can't even make the high quality fuels anymore.
If you don't schedule time for maintenance, the maintenance schedules the time for you.
Ooh.
Yes. For whom the maintenance tolls. So PES has to idle the plant. Then they declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy for a second time on July 21st. It quickly became clear that Chapter 11 was not feasible, and so the process moved to Chapter 7, liquidation.
Which is what was going to happen to all the people in South Philly.
Yes.
Ugh.
So-
Mass Chapter 7 event.
Oh, God. This was, I assume that's what happens if you declare Chapter 7 personal bankruptcy. is
Well, they just liquidate
Yeah.
you.
They just liquidate you, yeah.
You get in the fucking HF, pressure washer.
So, Chapter 7...
New nightmarish weapon invented. Karcher pressure washer filled with hydrofluoric acid.
You're gonna need a hell of a protective suit for that one.
Oh, yeah.
So this was opposed by PES's union. It was opposed by the Trump administration, and it was even opposed by a few creditors, right? Because losing a refinery this large would eliminate good union jobs. Keep in mind, this was one of the largest union employers in the city. This would affect national security because, this is a very, very big refinery that's good for refining domestic crude oil. And it would put unsecured creditors at risk of losing their investments, respectively, right? That being said, there were plenty of people who were in favor of closing the refinery, not the least of whom were the people living near it who were almost liquefied.
Understandable.
Yeah.
And so it wound up, okay, the refinery's closing. We can't reopen it. There's a wide range of proposed ideas for the site, right? Mayor Jim Kenney's administration convened the Refinery Advisory Group to involve the public in decisions about the future of the site. Drexel's Lindy Center for Urban something or other released a wide-ranging report on future uses for the area after remediation. All of this involved, public stakeholders, blah, 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 the sort of thing that you do when you release a big, long report. All of this was completely ignored, and the site was sold to Hillco Development Partners.
Wait, what? Bloody
Yeah.
hell. So this is a site that's what? So this is a
Yep.
site that's bigger than Center City, right? This is a huge
Yes.
area.
Yeah, it's massive.
It is a massive, massive site.
And it just got sold off, just straight off to the development part. It's not seen as like a genuine public good that could have been, usefully expanded, a nice walkable new part of the city.
Condos.
No,
What if
absolutely
condos?
not. No, it's not condos either. It's worse.
Oh god.
Oh.
So, anyway, the workers were laid off. The refinery was closed permanently. The future of this massive site, directly adjacent to the center of the 5th largest city in the country, was thoroughly and completely in private hands.
Oh, here's the disaster part then.
Yeah. Now, before we get to that, I will say, okay, what was the cause of the incident? It was
Bad
corrosion.
welding.
Yeah, it's corrosion.
It's corrosion.
Yep.
It always
That'll do
is.
Yeah. Namely, it was different metals corroding at different rates.
Huh.
I mean, this will get you on a bridge as well, as
Yeah.
we've discovered.
Yeah.
Most of the carbon steel piping on the alkylation unit was made from a alloy which was low in nickel and copper. This elbow, however, right here, was made from Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company's proprietary Yoloy.
Oh, that's
Yoloy.
Yeah, I heard a Drake song about that once.
It had a much higher nickel and copper concentration. This made the steel...
It's the worst elbow thing to happen since the keyboard player turned out to be a turf.
This made the steel more ductile and easier to work. And in fact, it still had pretty good corrosion resistance, but not so much that it could be used continuously, subjected to trace hydrogen fluoride from 1973 to 2019.
Oh, good.
At some point, it's about to hit its McFucking limit, right?
Yes.
I don't want any components in an oil refinery to be called YOLO. I don't like that.
No, it's Yoloy.
Well, yeah. It's the
These two
accent.
parts, they've been working on a cocktail called Grounds for Divorce.
There were random inspections to determine corrosion in pipes, but not on every component. So somehow everyone
That's a
had
lot of
missed that while this elbow was installed, when this elbow was installed, it had a wall thickness of 1/3 of an inch. And when it ruptured, it had a wall thickness of 1/100th of an inch.
Oh. That's not a lot. That's very thin.
That's half the thickness of a credit card.
Yeah, it's gold foil
Oh.
levels of thickness there.
This is paper thin
Yes.
level of okay.
Good.
You got to hire more pipe inspectors, I think.
Pay your pipe guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, this is far less than the standard for retiring and replacing a section of pipe like this. And of course, this had been a very unloved facility for a good chunk of this time, right? It was, it was old, it was decrepit.
If the oil refinery doesn't feel loved, it will explode.
Yeah,
It's very needy.
yeah.
Who amongst us?
Oh, same. Yeah. I'm referencing a Vice article. Some of you will know.
As a result of this, there are now more stringent practices in the industry about inspecting piping on alkylation units. All pipes must be inspected and not a random sample.
I feel so much better about this.
And anyway,
Problem solved. There we go.
Yeah, job creation for the pipe inspector
go.
industry.
now we have some great job creation coming thanks to Hillco Development Partners.
What
They
are
are-
they putting on this shit?
The Bellwether
building-
District.
They're building the Bellwether District.
What the
It's
fuck is a bellwether district?
It's a bunch of fulfillment warehouses.
Oh my god,
God.
are you shitting?
Fucking great Amazon fulfillment center, but it gives everyone who works in it cancer, and also probably you cancer from getting the Amazon
I was
parcel.
absolutely.
And also, Amazon is an unusable website now because it's all full of like knockoff bullshit.
This is. Do you know why this is? And I say this as someone who's lived on the last two places I've lived have been on former industrial sites, and therefore have had to have ground remediation. This is to avoid doing the onerous ground remediation. This is so they have to do is basically drive a dozer over the top of it till it's flat, and then put the rapid fire giant Amazon fulfillment warehouse on top.
Just sprinkle some Amazon workers over it and call it good.
Exactly.
I think they've been doing some amount of remediation, but yeah, they're obviously not aiming for residential or commercial uses here,
No.
at least in this part. Further up, I think they have something they're calling an innovation district up here.
The
that'd
good
be
thing-
closer to
okay.
Point
Yeah,
Breeze.
innovating new kinds of cancer to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing is you can.
They probably put more biomedical space up there so they can cure the cancers as quickly as they can make new ones.
The good thing is that when the city gets taken over by when we see the good future take over, you can quite easily flatten this lot, redo the ground remediation, and actually convert it into useful human space.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that gets me about this is this site has excellent rail access.
Well, they're going to use that, right?
I think there's one building down here that can theoretically get a spur.
Oh.
I looked at the website.
Oh, God.
They advertise rail access. They don't plan for it.
Oh, boy.
And, well, I guess this is what environmental justice is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. What a nightmarish little story.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think, okay, there's still, like, this is the largest polluting facility in the region. But the thing is, of course, we're still completely surrounded by oil refineries.
And any one of them could turn you into goo at any moment.
Yeah, exactly. There's one in Trainer, there's one in Paulsboro, there's one in Delaware City. I think the one in Trainer is actually operated by Delta Airlines, which refines their own fuel.
I mean, I suppose we've got to be glad that, I mean, this is maybe a happy story in that we didn't kind of
no one died.
to like convert
no one got gooped.
a lot of
no one got gooped.
Yeah, no one got gooped. We did not we didn't end up with a situation that made Threads look like Playday. That's
no
good.
one experienced Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Yeah, we didn't de-inventory a third of the population of Philly. That's good.
You just have to get a steam hose and shove bodies into the drain.
Oh God!
Massive sewage buildup.
Oh my God! I mean,
kind of fatberg situation.
Yes.
I mean, praise be to the
Peopleberg.
engineers who put the de-inventorying system in. It's an actual, it's very much a W for that safety system.
Oh yeah.
Build safety systems in. It worked. Fair play.
Well, what did we learn?
Don't live near an oil refinery.
don't.
And by near, I mean within 20 miles.
Here.
Hey, the Trainer and the Marcus Hook refineries are they have 2 blocks of houses right in between.
They sure do.
Yeah. So this is the story of the PES refinery. We have a segment on this. We have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
Oh God, I got a 50-50 chance here.
Shake hands with danger.
Pro.
Hello, Nova, Liam, and Justin. No hello for
Missed
Gareth.
Missed one.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
And Liam left early.
Yeah,
so you're
exactly.
wrong twice.
Today I bring you a story laden with danger, sexism, every pronoun imaginable, and workplace neglect in the private yachting industry.
I did not see that coming.
You have my attention.
Yes.
Trigger warning for loss of life.
Oh, I'm less
I read
funny
through
now.
this. It's not directly in the story.
Okay.
These days, I am a card-carrying member of the No Voice Train gang.
Hell yeah.
And
Solidarity.
My pronouns are he and him. But years ago, when this story took place, I was deep in the closet and still presenting as femme with she, her pronouns. Hang on to that.
Okay.
I spent a couple years working as a deckhand on private yachts.
God, I'm so sorry.
Yachting is a blatantly sexist industry. Men are deck crew, officers, and engineers. The girls are stewardesses. When I started working, I didn't quite understand that I was trans, but I did understand that being perceived as a masculine worker filled me with a joy that I couldn't quite recognize, and I wanted to replicate it as often as possible. Though the men around me set the bar pitifully low, I was regularly lauded for showing up to work on time and mostly sober. I was still passed over for a lot of jobs because girls aren't strong enough to be deckhands.
Maybe this is my naivete happening, but what kind of like heavy physical labor are you doing on the yacht for like the 1%? Like
stupid boat stuff.
I guess so. Like fucking around with anchors and stuff.
Yeah.
Hurling Robert Maxwell's bloated body over the back.
Yes.
Crates of illegal alcohol, that sort of things of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
illegal cigars, illegal. I don't
Must
know.
be able to lift and carry, a weight of principle.
A pallet of bricks of cocaine.
Yeah.
When I finally did land a job, my position was precarious. It was made known to me that my employers had never hired a female deckhand, and whether or not I succeeded at the job would determine whether they continued to hire women in my role.
Oh, fucking hell, no pressure.
Extremely illegal.
Yeah,
but, it's the sea, so whatever,
Exactly. International law has no HR. Or maritime law, whatever it is. If at any time they thought I would be unable to perform the duties in the exact same capacity as a man, I would be immediately fired and sent back home. It's also important to note that yachts have very little in the way of worker protection. You can be fired for anything at any time. All this made me, number one, determined to prove that women, because they're women, not girls, can do the damn job, and number two, the deckhand liable to be handed all of the shitty jobs because I wouldn't or couldn't say no.
Great.
On this particular day, the bosun, who we'll call Phil, this is Phil right here,
Oh, yeah.
and this lovely hand-drawn image.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
love this.
Post-it note. Shout out to 3M.
Shout out to 3M, yeah. Phil wanted me to polish the forward flagpole, which was about 15 to 20 feet tall. We did not have a 15 to 20 foot ladder, but we did have a hydraulic crane that we used to lift the jet skis off the bow and lower them into the water.
I think the rich people here should probably.
Yeah.
I think we can say that. If your yacht has like a jet ski crane, I think you should be.
Phil instructed me to climb up to the peak of the crane arm with my polishing equipment and balance on it while he used the remote control to maneuver me to the top.
Nope, don't like that.
Beautiful, beautiful idea, Phil.
The crane was not rated for people to be standing on top of it, and it was painted with very shiny, very slick, white all grip with aesthetic rounded edges.
Uh-huh.
We were also, on a boat in the water, which is a substance famed for continuous movement.
It's kind of like holding onto an icicle in this situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this has got to be like, I'm imagining this crane is like something that's been designed very aesthetically in this very sleek, horrible yacht,
Uh-huh.
It's like all white and it's like, it looks like it's made of renderite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yogurt pot.
When I asked for a harness, Phil replied I didn't need one, as the fall wouldn't be that far.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair. Cool.
It's only 15 to 20 feet, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can walk that off.
And as long as I kept my balance on the very shiny, very slick, all-grip paint with my very sweaty bare feet, I would not fall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had been asked to do this about 6 months before, I might have swallowed my fears in the name of being manly and gone to work on a hydraulic balance beam of death. Because it's probably going to be okay, right? And dudes rock, right? But just a few months prior to this incident, a friend of mine in a similar situation in the yachting industry said yes, and ended up falling over 100 feet to her untimely death.
Jesus.
While I missed my friend terribly, I also knew she would be annoyed if I showed up in purgatory so soon after her for the same reason. Giving men, especially men in a position of power, an outright no usually ends pretty poorly. So I suggested we check with the first mate Patrick, who was our acting captain at the time, before starting the job. Phil wasn't happy about this, but decided to radio Patrick just to be sure. Patrick took one horrified look at the setup and forbade anyone from standing on the crane, and gave Phil a good chewing out for even suggesting it, and suggesting we do elevated work without the required safety harnesses. He prevented a serious workplace disaster for me, and as I am sure I would have lost my balance and broken my neck on some useless billionaire's shitty jet ski. I stayed in the industry for a couple more years until I finally realized that being a man does not necessitate manual labor and cargo shorts.
Hey,
I'm
man,
now
Yeah, you
set-
can podcast instead.
Yeah. I'm now settled on land as a happy little twink and working on a law degree so I can provide legal counsel to unscrupulous orcas carrying out vigilante justice without fear of seasickness or being asked to sweat on the job.
Maritime law, let's go.
Thanks for a great show. I found Well, There's Your Problem on an r/ask Reddit thread back in May and have been binging the podcast since. November, I've always been self-conscious about my voice, but listening to you presenting unapologetically as yourself has been a joyfully affirming experience. Thank you.
Aw.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm just too lazy to do it, but I'm glad that people seem to get something from it. Yeah.
Respectfully, fuck you.
Hey, whoa, fuck you too.
Okay, cool. You and the Lord. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's get this twink out of here.
Yeah. Well, that was Safety Third.
Shake hands with danger.
Our next episode will be on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
Rail natter.
Oh, yeah.
Kill James Bond. And no gods, no mayors. I
No
have
gods, no mayors.
I've
Yeah.
excitedly. I've been thinking about mayors, and I've thought of one that is so much in everything's wheelhouse that I've already. I need to suggest it because I'm excited to think about it.
Yeah, please do.
I think about mayors
I'm always
constantly.
happy to hear mayoral suggestions.
You got so many mayors to choose from.
Oh, the spreadsheet is getting out of control at this point.
Excellent.
The mayoral master list.
yeah.
So many mayors.
The list.
You have a mayor cage match.
Oh, the one I'm thinking of, the color of puce that he can go when threatened. Yeah, that's I reckon it'd be quite fun to get him in a cage.
Ooh. All right. Well, with some of the worst technical difficulties we've had in any podcast in a while. Well, actually, that's not true at all.
No. When we lost the 4.5 hour episode, that was the worst technical difficulties.
That was probably the
we'd had
worst
in a
thing that
while.
has ever happened to me.
This is a mere 2 hours 12.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to say that was a podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Auf Wiedersehen.